Hello, and I hope you're having a lovely lunch, and hopefully it's sunny where you are, but if you're in England, more than likely not. So welcome to Lunchtime with Angie Michael. It's a pleasure to have you joining me for lunch on this wonderful topic on food intolerances, not allergies. An allergic reaction occurs when the immune cells overreact to harmless food proteins. During the allergic reaction, the body releases chemicals that trigger symptoms which can affect the eyes, nose, throat, as well as the skin and the lungs. Your symptoms may include hives, shortness of breath, swelling of the airways, itchiness, or anaphylaxis, which you may have heard of, anaphylactic shocks. When it is a food allergy, the immune system has been involved. When it is a food intolerance, the immune system has not. Food intolerance of functional origin is often caused only by an isolated functional disorder, such as lactase deficiency in the small intestine. This is enzyme related. Food intolerance can be caused by a structural alteration in the gastrointestinal tract, which can cause secondary food associated symptoms. A structural example would be when the small intestine has an abnormal sac or pouch formed at a weak point in the wall of the alimentary tract, which can lead to bacterial overgrowth of the small intestine, which can cause diarrhea and other symptoms. Toxic reactions are due to the actions of toxins. Speaks for itself, but where did the toxins come from? It may be once again of bacterial origin, or plant, or fungal origin. For example, it could be from food contamination. So a food intolerance describes a form of intolerance caused by either carbohydrate malabsorption due to missing enzymes, as I discussed earlier, which do not involve the immune system. There is also histamine intolerance, irritable bowel syndrome, leading to food intolerances, salicylate intolerance, and as mentioned earlier, small intestine bacterial overgrowths, food poisoning. It can also be psychological factors. All of these root imbalances can lead to a cause and effect leading to intolerance symptoms. We will go into more detail. Carbohydrate malabsorption can lead to glucose intolerance. For example, you could have rice or bread or an ice cream intolerance. And in my clinic I see many people with these issues. So definitely need to get their carbohydrate malabsorption looked into. Non-toxic reactions can be immune-based or non-immune-based. Some people are sensitive not to the food itself, but to a substance or ingredients used in the preparation of the food. Examples of non-immune system intolerances: salicylates, the biogenic amines, for example histamine, which we mentioned, tyrosine, which is protein, and a serotonin, which you've probably heard of. Then there's sulfites, found in wine and medications. There are actually many people, some from certain ethnic backgrounds, that have intolerances to wine. Sodium glutamate, which is a flavor enhancer, preservatives and added colors, for example, tartrazine, benzoates and sorbates, etc. Some people actually do have intolerances to these preservatives. Some people don't actually know yet that they have these intolerances to these preservatives. And also the sweeteners as well. aspartame, which is wrong on all levels, can give you intolerances. There are other reasons why you might have a food intolerance, for example, genetic diseases involving your metabolism, celiac disease caused by gluten insensitivity. Foods with high histamine content, for example, are ripened cheese, pickled cabbage, tuna and mackerel, sausages, red wine. Foods that also can cause problems, black tea, colorants, alcohol, as mentioned, all alcohol. Foods that release increased amounts of histamine, citrus fruits, nuts, and wheat germ. Other factors that might promote histamine release: infections, stress, excess sports, chronic diseases, medications, and opiates. Common symptoms of food intolerances include stomach pain, gas, cramping, bloating, diarrhea, constipation, headaches, vomiting, nausea, nervousness, irritability. I would say if you had even just one of those symptoms, and you've had one of those symptoms for longer than 24 hours, go to your healthcare provider and they can help you find out what the issue is. So let's do a small recap at this point of why you might have a food intolerance. Certain foods might be irritating the lining of your digestive system. There might be toxins in your food, creating more toxicity in your intestines or in your stomach. You might have structural abnormalities leading to toxins. You might not be able to break down certain foods, which will lead to abnormalities. There are ways you can help yourself. With food intolerances, you really do have to take charge of your body. It is not a case of, here is a pill, take it and you will feel better. You will need to start a food diary, have tests done, and go on an elimination diet. There are tests that can be done to help determine the cause of your symptoms. Thank you for the lady who sent in an email regarding this. Yes, there are tests that can be done. There are many tests to get to the bottom of this. It's once again a process of elimination. Do one test, see if they find an answer, do another, do another. Eventually you will get there. It might be a stool test that can check for many things, including certain bacteria. You might be given a skin prick test or a hydrogen breath test. A hydrogen breath test is an easy and useful test. You will be given a drink of lactose solution after you have fasted overnight. The concentration of hydrogen is measured in the air that you breathe out. If after an hour your breath contains a large amount of hydrogen, it is likely that you are lactose intolerant. The baseline is the amount of hydrogen that is present in your breath before drinking the lactose solution. They might do a lactose tolerance test. In a lactose tolerance test, yes, you might be given a solution, or it might be a blood sample. The blood will also be tested to see how much glucose, blood sugar it contains. If you are lactose intolerant, your blood sugar levels will either rise slowly or not at all. This is because your body is unable to break down the lactose into glucose. You might get a milk intolerance test done. you might be given a glass of milk, about 500 mils, and your blood sugar levels will be tested. If your blood sugar levels do not rise after drinking the milk, you may be lactose intolerant. Your healthcare provider might arrange a small bowel biopsy. As a small bowel biopsy is an invasive surgical procedure, it is rarely used to diagnose lactose intolerance. However, it may be carried out to see if your symptoms are being caused by another condition, such as celiac disease. In a small bowel biopsy, a sample of your small intestinal lining is taken using an endoscope. This will be carried out under local anaesthetic, and it generally does not hurt. The sample of intestinal lining will be tested to see how much lactase it contains. You might have serum analysis. They might do imaging. Multiple imaging techniques may be done if there is a possible IBS suspected, or celiac disease, or other conditions. You might have an endoscopy done to rule out ulcers. Endoscopies involve using a lighted tube to visualize, take pictures and biopsies of the esophagus, stomach and small intestines. A lot can be told by an endoscopy. As you can see, there are many ways to find out what is causing your symptoms or food intolerances. The sooner you get tested, the more chance you have of finding out what is going on with you. There are, like I said, many tests that can be done. One of the symptoms that you can have is diarrhea. Diarrhea can be liquid or loose stools, and it can be very uncomfortable, and it could be food intolerance. So I would recommend that you had tests done to find out what is causing it. With diarrhea, it can be a number of things. It can be digestive function. It could be, IBS, but what is causing the IBS in the first place? Sometimes it can be there's a bacterial issue that's been overlooked, or parasites or yeast infections. If you are low in your nutrients, that can cause chronic diarrhea. If you have allergies, diarrhea. If there is a thyroid issue, it can cause diarrhea. Many people I see in my clinic have had this issue for a long time and actually haven't gone to the GP because they feel it is normal. If you do have diarrhea, go to see your GP and get a diagnosis. It could be a food intolerance, and if it is, then you can see your nutritional therapist who can help you know what foods to remove. Please do remember that if you do remove foods, seek help from a professional, because they will help you know which foods to have in their place. Okay? Because some people might be intolerant to gluten, which means you are cutting out a lot of foods, so you still need to make sure you get all the nutrients that you need. If you do want to come and see me or email me a question, feel free to do it. We do run tests. Most of the tests that were mentioned can be done for you. One of the best tests that I think would be a good start, one of my favorite ones to be done, is the comprehensive stool analysis that will also do parasites as well. And the test you can have on top of that also would be the lactose intolerance test. These two tests can really help you find out what is going on. There are some very common foods that many people have intolerances to, worldwide. Gluten is one of them. Dairy is another. Let me think, what else is there? Tomatoes can be a big issue. Pineapples is another one. And shellfish is a very big one. And one of the main food intolerances people have is actually crab. Many people have an intolerance to crab. So that can be a big issue for people. You can have, when you have a food intolerance test to find out if there are certain foods you have an intolerance to, there are many tests on the market. Some are better than others. Some will only test 5 foods. Some will test 15. Some will test 100. There are actually tests that do 250 or more. If you have the money, definitely get that test done. If not, go with your gut feeling on which 5 foods you think you most have an intolerance to. Some people can't pinpoint this at all. Some know maybe a few of them. Wheat is a big issue. However, times have changed. There are so many wheat-free and gluten-free foods on the market now. Rice is wheat-free and gluten-free. Short whole grain organic rice is one of the best grains you can have. You can buy beautiful bread on the market, biodynamic bread that is wheat and gluten-free. One of the best ones is the rice bread. Now, some of these beautiful biodynamic organic breads, they do have a short shelf life, and a lot of these companies make half a loaf, so to make sure that it gets eaten up before it goes mouldy. But these foods, these breads are amazing, and it wasn't that long ago that we weren't able to get all these wonderful gluten-free foods. Some of the main supermarkets now have special aisles for gluten-free or dairy-free. This is the way forward, because we do eat too many foods in excess that we really shouldn't. And grains is a big example. Pasta on our plate should not be the main part of the meal. It should be a small percentage. What do we do nowadays? We have this great big plate of pasta, very few vegetables, and a side salad. A lot of people don't even bother to eat the side salad. This salad is so important for you to get your nutrients, and it really helps give yourself a good internal cleanse and helps look after your intestines. If your intestines are not in a good state, you have more chance of picking up food intolerances. Many people ask me, can you get rid of food intolerances? The answer to that is yes. How long it will take? That's an individual thing. But we were not born with these food intolerances. We've acquired them. Okay, some people do have genetic predispositions. Okay, maybe there's a metabolism issue, a hormone issue. But in general, we acquire these food intolerances. So we can help ourselves remove them. So please do, look at what you're eating. Do you know of certain foods that are irritating you? Can you stop eating them and see if you feel better? Have you had any tests done that can determine whether it is a food intolerance or if there is another issue? Okay, there are so many stomach issues, and the only way you're going to find out is going to see your GP and having some tests, and then it can be dealt with. So food intolerances are on the up. We are eating in excess. We're having too much dairy, for example, far too much sugar, which is causing problems. So do a food diary, see your GP. If you want, we can do some tests for you and get yourself feeling better. There's some great products you can have that can help you feel more balanced. Because some people have already been diagnosed with food intolerances, and you know, by no fault of their own, sometimes they might have eaten a little bit of that food that has irritated them. There are some obviously pharmaceutical products, but there are also some natural products, and a really nice natural product to help ease stomach issues is peppermint oil. Another one is aloe vera. There's great anti-bloating products. Nosh do a really good anti-bloating box. There's some great herbs you can take. Yep. Flax oil is a wonderful product as well to help soothe the intestines. So please do see a nutritional therapist, because they are the best ones to give you personal advice on how to help you feel better. So thank you so much for joining me today. It's always a pleasure having lunch with you.